Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. This is part 16 of the S2000 Upgrades, and we're finally going to be going for the startup. Everything looks like it's coming together pretty well. And if you missed the last video, what we did was we finished up the air intake piping. It's tack welded for now because we're going to be switching off from this one to a short ram setup that's laying around here somewhere. I'm not sure where it's at. But we need to wire in the air intake temperature sensor, weld in the bung for it, and then tape this together. I already have this piece cut, and then after that we're going to connect to the Haltech. And I've already done it once. Everything looks like it's communicating pretty well. We'll change the injector sizes and probably make some more scale adjustments on map sensor and things like that. I'm not sure if that's wired up right. It seemed to be working, but the pressure was wrong, so we'll check on that. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get started on this final piece of the air intake piping. We'll cut the hole inside this piece right here, clean it up, get it all ready for welding, and we'll weld this to it. It's a little bung, 3/8 bung, NPT for the sensor. And yeah, we'll call it good. Then we'll put on the car and go for a startup, see how it idles. Okay, so we got our bung welded into our pipe. This is what it looks like. It's kind of a cheesy weld, but I'm still practicing. Need to definitely improve my welding skills, but that's alright. We'll just leave that there to cool down. But while that's cooling down, this will give us an opportunity to go ahead and wire in the connector for the intake air temperature sensor. Right here is just two little wires. Now I was reading a little manual that AEM has on this sensor. Polarity doesn't matter, so I'm just going to wire it in. Just two little pins and GM style connector, so it should be pretty simple. And I'm glad I did read it because it says you're supposed to stick the wires in there first, then crimp the connectors on it, so that's good that I did that. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and strip back some wiring on these two wires and wire this in, and that pipe over there should be cooled down by then, and then we can go ahead and tape it on and get it heat wrapped temporarily so we can go ahead and move forward on with other things. Okay, it's all wired in. I loosely put the heat wrap on there because I'm gonna have to redo it. But as of right now, I think I don't have anything else to do under the hood. I just gotta give it a once over, and I think we're good. We can move on to a laptop and to the computer. However, I did get the move-in oil cap this weekend, so I put that on there, and I got a little VTEC solenoid cover because I didn't like the way that other one looked. But I did get those two things put on just a little while ago. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and I guess get in the car, connect to the computer, and start making some changes. Let me see if I can do it by myself first, see how everything looks, and if I can manage, then if I think it looks right, I'll do some more research. If I think it looks right, I'll go ahead and try to crank it up. But everything looks good so far, so let's get inside the car. Okay, we're online with the ECU now. Car's on, fuel pump primed, and there's no leaks, so that's a good sign. But I do have some sensors that don't seem to be reading correctly. Air temp sensor 116 degrees. I think that's a little much. And our coolant temperature sensor 79, 80. That's about right. Throttle position sensor. Oh, I haven't calibrated that. I need to do that right now. And then our map sensor -8. That's not right either. I'll get my temperature gun and I'll shoot the temperature on that intake pipe, and keep that number in mind. That way, if we can scale the sensor, then whatever temperature that pipe is, then we'll scale it like that. Coolant temp, like I said, I think that one's okay. I'll just verify. And TPS, I'll go ahead and calibrate that right now. But I just want to give you guys a quick look on what it looks like. Here's my old map. This is with the OEM manifold and password JDM intake, and that's pretty much it. This is an E85 map right here. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and calibrate this throttle position sensor and get it correct. So we ran into a slight issue with the TPS. As you saw on the Haltech display, it was reading like 16 or something like that. But I tried to adjust it, but I was only able to get like 4.09 volts out of it. It should be 4.5, and it was already maxed all the way out. So what I'm gonna have to do is grind away a little bit on the sensor. It's a little bit more rotation out of it, that way I can get that 4.5. But yeah, that's all it needs, just not much more. So we'll go ahead and grind it off, and this is the Honda sensor. This is the OEM from the S2000, so it worked out. I got that little kit for the K series to B series TPS adapter, so this works real well. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and shave off a little bit with the Dremel. I'm probably gonna go past the metal and into the plastic housing a bit, but alright, that took way longer than it should have. I had to take it off, put it on like 4 or 5 times. Ended up having to remove the little metal inserts that were in the elongated holes. So those are no longer on there, and I went quite a ways to the edge of the plastic. It's pretty close. It's like maybe another 15-20 thousandths, and it'll go all the way through the plastic on this end, so I have to be careful. But it is reading right now. We have, let's see if I can do this with one hand, 4.46, which is pretty good, close to 4.5. And I don't have another hand to show you that it goes to 0.5 all the way open, but I will show you on the computer. We are now reading 1% on the TPS. If you can see that, it says 1%. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot the temperature on the coolant temperature sensor and verify that we have 80 degrees engine. So if I shoot this, we're sitting about 78 or so. That's close enough for me, 78. So I know the coolant temperature sensor is reading correctly. A couple of degrees higher, but shouldn't make a difference, so that's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and get with Chad on the on the computer stuff, and we should be able to calibrate those sensors and get this thing going. Once those changes are made, I'll show you guys, and then we'll go ahead and start it up, see what it sounds like. It's been such a long time since this thing has ran. Kind of excited, so I'm gonna get it done. Alright guys, here we go. Forgot to push start. It's been so long. A little bit of a noise, gotta look at that. Okay, so that noise was the exhaust hitting the spare tire, but I moved it out of the way already, and I'm gonna try it one more time. It sounded like it hit a few times, so let's see what it does when we try it again. Alright, obviously it's the next day. Spent most of the night trying to figure out how to get my map sensor to work. So what I want to do is try the old map sensor. This is the original one off of the S2000 OEM, and I'm just going to get this long hose and then plug it into a vacuum source, and then I'm going to splice in the old harness right here, or the old pigtail right here, and then I'm just going to try it again and see what it does, because that's kind of what I'm thinking now. It's just not scaled correctly. It did hit for a little while, and then I think once it tried to slow down to an idle, it didn't like it for whatever reason, and I'm thinking it's because of the scale on the map sensor, probably too low or something like that. So I'm going to plug in that old map sensor, and hopefully we'll get a start out of it. So we'll go ahead and knock that out, and we'll just try to start it up again. This is our temporary map sensor connection, and I broke that nipple right there. I gotta get another T. Way to go. So I'll replace that T, and then we'll go ahead and give it a crank. And our map is reading correctly. We're plugged in, so this might be it. Cross your fingers. Let's see what happens. Well, it does the same thing. Okay, one last thing, since it's not starting. Probably the last thing I can really try, but I'm kind of narrowing down my problem being the IAC valve. So I'm going to disconnect it and try to start it like that, and hopefully that helps. So we'll give it another shot. If this doesn't work, then take a little break and do some more research online, and hopefully we'll get it figured out. So let's try to start up one last time. Alright guys, it's been another week back out here in the garage working on the car. I did have some time to do some research this week, and I do need to put in the dead times on the injectors, and I need to scale the IAT. I'm pretty confident that that's what is keeping me from starting. So I'm going to plug those in, and hopefully this time, I know I made several attempts as you saw already, and hopefully this time we will finally get it to run. So we'll see what it does this time. Hopefully this is it. Alright guys, got the information put into the computer, and we're going to give it a crank, and hopefully it starts up and idles, and we shall find out right now. Hopefully this is it. Uh-oh, sounds a lot better. Trying to idle. And we lost it. It kind of idled up. I'm gonna see if there's anything else wrong with it. It tried to idle, it tried to do something there, so we did some changes, and had a pretty good effect. I think it still idles up kind of high, so we shall see if I'm going to troubleshoot it and hopefully I can figure out what the problem is. So stand by, we'll try to get it again. Well, it's running kind of funky on the idle, as you can tell already, but it does run, guys. It's still kind of weird. I don't understand why it's idling like that. It's almost like I have a vacuum leak. I don't know. It's very strange. Anyway, how do you guys think it sounds? It sounds pretty meaty to me. I just got to figure that idle issue. It's kind of bugging me. Not sure why it's doing that. So I tried adding more fuel, but all it does is make it rev up higher. I'm thinking it's something to do with the idle air control valve. I already had it programmed for a K-series. Alright, back in the garage. Been about a week since I worked on it last. Made some attempts to start it, but now I'm back out here. I was suspecting a vacuum leak. Couldn't really see anything that was obvious around the engine. I looked at the seal of the throttle body, looked at the shaft seals, and looked at the where the plenum bolts on to the runners and the gaskets there. Everything looks okay. Looked at all the plugs and all the little vacuum ports, and I could not find any vacuum leak. But one thing I did notice was a while back when I installed the injectors, I remember thinking that they were kind of loose fitting in the bore. So I don't know, I'm just kind of going on a little guess here, thinking that that's what it was. So what I did do was borrow some old injectors. I don't remember what these were off of, probably a D series, but it did have a little piece of rubber right here that sealed against the fuel rail. It wasn't a seal against the fuel rail, but it was just probably like a dust seal more than anything. So what I did do was I slid that off, and then I put it on the injector dynamic injector, and then I put the O-ring back on, and then I slid it on, and then they're like, those rubber seals are pressed against the manifold and sandwiched against the injector and the manifold. So I'm hoping that will give me a seal there, because that's the only way that I thought there could be a vacuum leak, a possible vacuum leak. So got it all back together now. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot one more time, and hopefully that's it. We'll see if it starts up this time. It's the next day, and let me just go over everything that I did, because it was kind of confusing. I don't know if you guys thought that, but I was all over the place with recording video and doing a lot of stuff off camera too. But just to kind of go over how everything went, I tried to start the car with the K-series map sensor and no seals on the injectors, and everything as it is right now. This was scaled a little bit differently also. This is the IAT sensor. So everything was just kind of the way it was in the beginning of the video. Try to crank it, and then the start idle went up and down. So I looked around the engine and tried to figure out what could it possibly be. I thought it was a vacuum leak at first, but then ended up not being a vacuum leak. Maybe it actually was leaking a little bit. Anyway, and then I had to run a vacuum line from the Haltech ECU, which is the onboard map sensor. I didn't show any of that, but I ran a little vacuum line through this little hole right here and tried that out, but that didn't work either. It pretty much did the same thing, so it was kind of useless that I did that. So then I had the idea of plugging in the original S2000 map sensor, and it did a lot better with that, but the idle was still all over the place. And I was kind of thinking at that point it was leaning more towards the vacuum leak. So then I focused on the injectors. I put those little rubber seals on there that I just told you about, and that seemed like it did quite a big difference. I made several attempts with it before I actually recorded the video. After that, I removed the idle air control valve. I disconnected it, and it did a little bit better. So then I completely took it off and then plugged the lines. I plugged the throttle body actually, and that's when it really seemed like it was doing a lot better. So after that, I put a little rubber hose on it, and it was kind of just like it was actually a vacuum leak like that. So I was able to put my thumb over the hole and kind of control it like that. So that's when I knew it was leaning more towards the idle air control valve. And played with the settings last night. Just kind of like I was watching the valve. I had it disconnected off the throttle body, and I played with the settings last night. And I was able to get it to move, and it kind of understood what exactly the Haltech was doing to the idle air control valve. So the engine started responding a little bit better. So I'm pretty confident that it's an idle air control value setting issue that I have. But the car does start and run. Once it starts and runs, it begins to surge after a few seconds, and that's where I'm kind of just going to stop and leave it like that. So yeah, that's how pretty much how the troubleshooting part went. It was over the course of like a week and a half. It was just that and work mixed together. It was kind of tough to get things done on it. So I do need to mount this somewhere. I'll do that off camera. This is the map sensor, the Honda one, or the Honda S2000 one, I mean. So I will mount that somewhere with a vacuum line, and I'll just be using that. I won't be using the K-series. I'll plug off that. The K-series map is in there right now. I can probably scale the K-series map, but so maybe I could do that later at another time. But if the tune comes before that, then I'm just going to leave that S2000 map sensor on there. So I did clean up everything around the garage. I got rid of all the mess, and there's a lot more room on the side now. I gotta pick up these hoses right here. Those are radiator hoses and air pump hoses and whatnot. So I will be lowering the car now. It's gonna be sitting on all four wheels. I'm gonna roll it back, and it's actually gonna see the light of day. And I'll start it up, and hopefully with a little bit of load on the clutch and all that, hopefully that idle will settle down and become a little bit more stable. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do as well. If I can get it stable, then I'm pretty confident that it will stay running like that, and at that point I'll know for sure that it's a idle air control valve issue, nothing with the vacuum leak. So I will be lowering the car, and it's gonna be on all four wheels. There she is. Finally outside. Long time inside. Got quite the mess going on inside there. All that Haltech stuff is laying in there. There's my other short ram pipe and a big layer of dust. Humongous layer of dust. Tune me. Check it out. Finally on 4 wheels. I think it looks pretty sweet underneath here. Might be a little bit dark, but nothing that you guys haven't seen. But there it is. But I am going to start it up, and I'm going to see if I can drive it in the garage and see how that idle acts. So yeah, wish me luck. The seat's cold. So I'm gonna connect to it real fast. Alright, so now we're gonna start it up. It might idle kind of funky, but that's to be expected. Actually, since it's cold, I'm going to turn off the fuel pump just for a little bit. Okay, so it's just going to crank over right now. Should. Battery's kind of low. I left it on last night by accident. Fuel pump's on. Okay, so I need a battery charger. 1 second. It's 10 volts. Let me give that a little bit. We're gonna go for a startup. Come here. How was that, kitty? Hey, how was that? Come here. Come here. Oh, fine, whatever. But yeah, it moves under its own power, guys. I like the way it feels. It feels pretty strong. I didn't have to press any gas whatsoever just to get over that bump on the garage. Usually I do. But it sounds pretty good. It definitely is idle control settings. I will have to play with that or get Chad to play with that, like I said. That's gonna be it, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of the first start / test drive into the garage. I will figure out the little minor details on the idle, and I will clean up the map sensor area that I have going on right here. I'll have to reroute that. And so yeah, I think we're almost there. Everything looks good. Feels strong. Super rev happy. Stepped on the gas one time and it revved up pretty fast. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe and make sure you click on the Grind to Garage link down below in the description. That way you can see what's going on. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time, and I'll be on the dyno hopefully.